Hey, this is Zach Human, and you're watching QUEST.TV.
I'm Kevin Schuker, and this is QUEST.TV. We're here at the Raw Spirit Festival in sunny Sedona, Arizona, and we're nestled here amongst the beautiful red rocks at the Radisson El Diablo Resort. And this is a Saturday, and there's a lot of great stuff going on. Over here, over my left shoulder, you can see we have the Raw Spirit main stage. We have a musical performer at the moment. And there's a lot of workshops going on here, and music going on throughout the day and through the evening. And everybody seems to be having a great time. And if we pan over here to the right, we can see that we have a dome over here, and this is another workshop area where we can get a little sneak peek inside. You can see everybody sitting there waiting for the next workshop leader to appear. So we're having a great time here. There's lots of people, 3,000 people, great food, great atmosphere, great energy. And I'm Kevin Schuker, and I'm having a great time here at the Raw Spirit Festival.
Chef John.
Hello.
And he'll take over. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Gideon. Well, I'm going to take the opportunity, since I'm the first one, to introduce you guys to the Live Food Kitchen. It's a very different kitchen from what most people are used to. We don't use any stoves. We don't, cook anything. We don't deep fry anything. These are our main tools right here. Here, and the dehydrator, which I don't think anybody has back there, so I can't show it to you. But a dehydrator, what a dehydrator is, it's kind of like the size of a microwave. They come in different sizes. What it is basically a box that has trays in them and a little fan on the back. It's low temperature, so it has a little temperature modulator, so you don't go above the 115, which is the whole concept of what live food is all about. After you go above 115 degrees, you start killing the enzymes, you start killing the nutrients, you start degrading the vitamins, the minerals, and all that stuff. That's why we don't cook food. It just makes sense, especially the enzymes. We have different kinds of enzymes in our body to metabolize things. We have food enzymes that come to help us digest food, but if you cook it, then those go out the drain, and our body has to work harder. We get older faster, we age, we start getting all the stuff that's going on that we don't really care about. We want to be vibrant and feel good. So that's the dehydrator, and what it does is it sucks the moisture and the water content of the foods. These are our two main tools right here. The Vitamix it's just a gift from God. Once you use the Vitamix, you don't want to go back. This is my blender of choice. There are other high-power blenders like the K-Tech, and I forget the name of the other brand, but this is the one I like the most. One of the main reasons why I like the Vitamix the most is because it's powerful, it's durable, it'll do anything. Grind seeds, nuts, make creams, pâtés, anything you want, this thing will do. Nut milks, everything. I like this model because it has the little nozzle in the middle. I'm very picky about what I make. I put my heart and soul into this food, and I want it to come out the way it is in my head, it's in my heart, and this is a little trick, it's just a little tip, that I use to give me the textures that I want, to give me the type of blend that I want. Sometimes I double blend something so I don't crank this up and just go, and it goes like crazy, because if you turn one of these on, which if it is connected, I'll show it to you. It makes a lot of noise. I'm not using this today, I'm using this. But if you just crank it up, you can see, and don't worry, this won't touch the blade. I'll explain what this is. You see how powerful that is? That's very powerful. And if you just crank it up like that on high for a long time, it starts heating the food. It might not give you the texture you want. So this little button right here, it puts you in charge. I like to be in charge. This is a plunger. This little thing is very good. It will not touch the blade. It will never touch the blade. It's designed for that. And the reason we have this is to help the machine out a little bit. I use this to grind flax seeds, and that's my flour. There is no white flour with food. Negative stuff, but it's poison. White flour is one of the reasons why we're in trouble in this society, and we have issues with health problems. So the flours that I use are flaxseed flours, pumpkin seed flours, Brazil nut flours. different things like that. And this is one of the things I use. When I'm making a milk, I use everything. I like to use everything that I use. I don't like anything to go to waste. So when I make a Brazil nut milk with this, and I use these bags to strain the milk to make it really nice and silky, I take the pulp and I don't throw it away. I dehydrate it, and it makes it nice and dry and all that. I stick it back in here. I blend it right up, or I put it in the food processor, and it gives you flour. And it's amazing. You can make cookies with that stuff. You can make empanadas with that stuff. Put some Irish moss in it, and it's totally unbelievable. So this is another one of the reasons why this machine is so great. There's two ways of making pesto. I am going to make a chunky pesto. It's like a cheese. And I'm going to use the Cuisinart for that. You can make a creamier pesto for like a pasta with this. And pasta? What do you mean pasta? We use zucchini for our pasta. And there's a really cool, nice little gadget that's called a spiruli. It's like a little rubber, plastic, little machine like this that has a blade on one side and a little round sputo handle thing that moves with it. You can slice your zucchini. You can peel your zucchini, or just leave it like that. Stick it on one side, stick it on the other side, move it like that, and you get amazing pasta. It's delicious. You stick it with a mushroom cream sauce that I make, and a marinara Alfredo sauce or something like that. Put the mushrooms, stick it in the dehydrator, put a pesto sauce on it. Who needs pasta, right? And it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, pesto cream and pesto cheese, and I'm making the pesto cheese. The recipe for this is a cup. If you guys want to write this down, it's in my recipe book too, but if you guys want to write it down, it goes like this. I'm going to use a cup of pumpkin seeds, and I'm going to use a cup of pine nuts. Maybe I should just go and do it as I go along. Pumpkin seeds. I love pumpkin seeds. Now, we were talking a lot about, if you were in the panel activity, I was talking about a lot of fat and nuts and things like that, and there is a lot of dependency on nuts in this cuisine. I tend to use a lot of seeds because they are easier to digest. The whole almond thing, for example, you know what? It hasn't hurt me one bit because I don't use almonds all that much. I don't use almonds actually very much. I do have a product that's like it's a burger patty, and it was almond based. I just substituted the pumpkin seeds with a little bit of walnut. Perfect. It works. And but again, it is about the consciousness, and we do have to make choices so that stuff doesn't happen, because almonds are fun and almonds are good and they have very good contents of nutrients. And in this kitchen, the reason why a lot of people use almonds, and it's mostly for desserts, it's because when you put an almond in here, it binds things together very nicely. Like flax seeds, but it's a different taste. So for pies and desserts and stuff like that, yeah, almonds are really cool to use. But then you can use something else. You can use pecans or walnuts. I recommend walnuts over pecans. Always soak your nuts. The dark ones. There's some nuts like pine nuts that you don't need to soak. Some nuts like macadamia nuts you don't need to soak. Even the Brazil nut, which that's what I use the most. I mean, that's another bulk. Why? It's a wild food. Man has not figured out a way to mess that guy up. You know, they've tried, but it's a wild nut that grows in the Amazon, and they just can't put their hands on it, and they can't grow it, and it's like the cacao bean. They're not gonna mess that up. They just can't do it. You know, it's supposed to grow wild. So the Brazil nut, all Brazil nuts are organic, just so you know, because they're wild food. So I use a lot of Brazil nut, and that one, it's not necessary to soak. Why do we soak some nuts like almonds, pecans, and walnuts? Because they have an enzyme inhibitor where in nature they use that to protect themselves for their own survival. But it makes them hard to digest for us. So you soak them overnight, and it gets rid of that enzyme inhibitor, and it just makes it work easier for that. Seeds like pumpkin seeds, I don't soak. You don't need to soak pumpkin seeds. Now, sunflower seeds, you do. They have a little hull, and it's better to soak those out. If you're eating just a handful of sunflower seeds, it's not a big deal. I mean, you could go get away with it. It's like what the lady said over there. You're stressing about your food. Trust me, that's going to hurt you more than the actual food. Actually, this whole thing is not even about food. It's not. This is all great, but it's not even about the food. It's about what what the food represents. It's about the harmony and your mental, emotional, relationship, not only with the food, but with everything else that is out there. The food is such a minor part. I teach in my seminars how important clean water is, clean air is, how your environment is, how your relationships are with your family and your friends and everybody out there, how to protect yourself with a huge amount of antioxidants from the free radicals and the pollution that's out there. EMFs, if anybody knows about that, electromagnetic pollution is probably the worst thing. That's the thing that we gotta focus on a lot of. Of course, the food too. Our food supplies are not the best that could be out there, and that's what we're working on. But all these other things, it's all a holistic aspect of what we're doing. So, man, I can talk about, huh? Once you get me going. A cup of pumpkin seeds goes right in. A cup of pine nuts. Now, pine nuts are delicious. Oh, a few things about the properties of pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are very good to balance your hormones inside the body, especially estrogen. So women, if you get into pumpkin seeds, and it'll help with menopause and flashes and things like that. It helps men too. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's a nice little tip. Zinc. It's a very high source in zinc, and we're very zinc depleted in our society, in this country. The number one deficiency in our country is magnesium, which is a mineral. We are very depleted in minerals in general, and magnesium is the number one, but zinc is another one, so it's good to have that. We're putting pine nuts in here. We're doing a cup of pine nuts. Now, pine nuts, if you get like Siberian pine nuts or Chinese pine nuts, I'm pretty sure these have it too. I don't know if these are Chinese pine nuts. I got this from the store here, the local store. So they're all organic and everything. I use only organic. See, that's the part of making our choices and voting with the best, with our everyday choices. That if all of us vote every day for organic, you can sign 100 petitions, and that's nothing compared to everybody voting organic. I mean, it's like pinning these people who are like, the secret people. It's like taking them and putting them up against the wall, which nobody has ever done. But we can do it because we're so much more than they are. Anyway. Cup of pine nuts. Cup of pine nuts. Pine nuts has a pinolenic fatty acid in it that actually helps you lose weight. There's studies done now by Life Extension that if you combine this with some other amino acids, it actually helps you reduce weight. So the pinolenic acid in pine nuts are very good. And trust me, I put it to the test. One time I ate a handful of pine nuts before my meals and throughout the day. I didn't feel like eating. A handful of pine nut, and that was it. It just satiates your cells and has that element right there. I want to throw this out there because I think it's important with the whole fat thing. We tend to eat a lot of fat with this diet, and in general, I mean, all the junk food fat out there. But we do need fat, but we just have to be smart about it. So we have, again, it's about education. We want to learn about what an omega-3 fatty acid is as compared to an omega-6 fatty acid and have that proper balance. We're supposed to have like a ratio of around 5-to-1 omega-6 versus omega-1. And the ratio nowadays in our diets is like 50-to-1. What happens is that 50-to-1 ratio creates inflammation inside the body, and that's where we run into trouble. So, good sources of omega-3 fatty acids: flaxseed oil, primrose oil, and now the biggest one, I don't know if you guys saw David Wolf yesterday, but he was talking about marine phytoplankton. Now, I think that's probably one of the best things that has come in the last few months, because there's always this thing about DHE, long-chain omega fatty acids, and that you don't find in a plant source, which you don't. You find medium-chain fatty acids from the flaxseed, so you have to be smart about it and combine it with primrose oil and flaxseed oil and put some coconut oil in there so you can create the long-chain omega fatty acids in your body. But now with marine phytoplankton, which is the bottom of the food chain, those are being studied, and they're pretty sure that it has the long-chain omega fatty acids. So you can be a vegan and you're not going to be thinking, oh my God, I need fish oil, which I don't recommend. If you get well educated, and am I running out of time? Okay. If you get well educated and you know what you're doing, you can become a super healthy vegan, life foodist, and all this stuff that gets dumped into your brain about protein and calcium and this and that, it was just all like the biggest joke. It just goes away, just with spirulina and chlorella right there. It's like you don't need anything else besides that. Those are the completest proteins that you can have. That's the best protein source you can have. It has all the long chain the full complex of amino acids, and you don't need anything else. And guess what? It has a ton of chlorophyll, more than wheatgrass. So just to throw that out there. When we're preparing pâtés, we want to start, I like to start by mixing the nuts in first. Because if you just throw everything in there and push the button and make, it becomes kind of uneven. And then you get chunks of garlic here and little chunks of nuts here, and then you bite into something and it's like, whoa, and I didn't want that. So I start with all the pâtés, all the cheeses that I make. I start with the nuts first, and I pulse those first. And like with that, I want to be in control. I like being in control, so I pulse bits at a time so I can get everybody together and even. I don't have a spatula here because I'm using their kitchen. I'm just going to use this spoon. But a spatula, when you're using the food processor, is very important because you can scoop out the sides so that the stuff that gets stuck, if you guys can see, the stuff gets stuck on the sides, it won't get blended into your pâté if you don't scoop it and put it back in. So you want to do that and then come back and pulse it real quick again, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Pulse, and that's good. Sometimes you can pulse a little longer than that, but I've been talking too much, so we gotta kind of improvise here. I'm using something that is, what I call this is a fortifying food. Again, this is called nutritional yeast, which the word, because of the word yeast, it gets such a bad rap. I don't ever recommend brewer's yeast. This is like the only yeast thing that I recommend, and this is just for fun and also to fortify because it also has a complete source of protein, and it's got a ton of B vitamins. Now, the way nutritional is, this is not a complete raw food. This to make the yeast inactive, because active yeast is the one that gives you trouble inside with the candida and all that stuff. To make the yeast inactive, you slightly, put some heat in it. And what this does is it falls from the molasses. These are the flakes from molasses, and it loses the enzymes, but it doesn't lose the B vitamins. Those are stronger. So and doesn't lose the proteins and all that. And it's like a fortifying food. Also, I use it because I'll put it in here and I'll pass the bag around. If you smell it, it smells like cheese. So for flavor in the cuisine and all that, you use it every once in a while to put some stuff in your cheese and pâtés. You don't have to use it, but I like using it just to like. So I think for that recipe, I put like 8 tablespoons of this stuff. You could do a lot less than that. I don't even have a measuring, so I'm doing this by eye. And
Well, you're doing that when you give the ratio of 5 to 1 for omegas?
omega-6, because you do need some omega-6, but it's like...
You need more 3s.
No, you need more 6 than 3s, but not too much. It's 5 to 1. We're throwing in garlic. Now garlic, this is another one of my ultimate favorite. You can call it an herb or a food, Garlic is extremely powerful. It's a medicinal food. It is antibacterial, antimicrobial. It kills viruses, parasites, and all that stuff. So it cleanses you out like crazy. And of course, it tastes delicious. I mean, tell an Italian to go without garlic, and you'll see what happens. So I'm putting 2 cloves of garlic in here because pesto is very garlicky in general. So I'm just, as you saw that, to take the peel off of garlic real quick, you just lightly press the knife on it and it just comes off. You don't have to like peel the garlic. That takes forever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slightly chop it here a little bit, and this garlic, it's okay, but it's not the best ever. Let me throw that in there. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our basil. I put 2 cloves of garlic. We're gonna put our basil now, and I'm missing my olive oil. Mike, can you get me the olive oil in the bag, in the box? Oh, no, never mind. Thank you. Never mind, it should be in here. Olive oil. I gotta open that. I'm gonna put my basil in first. Like I said, we're using fresh basil, and I'm using 3 cups of basil. If you don't want to follow my recipe, 5 minutes. I'm finishing up. We have 5 minutes, but we'll see. The thing with this is that it's quick. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, raw food takes so long," and this and that. This cheese has taken an hour because I talk a lot. But really, this cheese I could have made it like in 3-5 minutes. I'm putting 3 cups of basil in here, and that's what my recipe calls for. Like I said, the formula. Can you? Awesome, you're the best, right there. There you go. She deserves a full like tortilla with pesto. The keys to making a general pesto is basil, pine nut, and salt, and garlic, and olive oil. And then I modify a little bit by adding a little lemon juice and apple cider vinegar because I want to put the healing elements of those foods in there. And I'm just gonna, as I go, I'm gonna like really blurt out what good things about all these foods are. So I'm just gonna throw this on top, and then I'm just gonna add my liquids in there. I'm gonna add, I think it's 1/3 cup of olive oil. 1/3 cup. I don't even know what this is. I don't usually measure anything. At this point, I usually use my eye, and this is probably 1/2 cup, so it's gonna be very oily, so it's gonna be greasy. It's gonna taste real good. And we're gonna put like 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Lemon juicer, really nice. It makes it easier, faster. You know, for an electrolyte lemonade, you take the peel off. This is one of the reasons why lemons are great, because it makes your body alkaline. It tastes acidic, but inside the body, it acts the opposite. It makes you alkaline. Same thing with apple cider vinegar. I use apple cider vinegar as a healing tonic. I use it for my food, and it also gets into the little crevices of your arteries and cleans those out. Not a lot of foods do that. So this is right here. Ask Braggs, and he'll tell you his books. He's gone, but we're using 2 tablespoons of that. There you go. See, 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of that, and I think it's 1 tablespoon of this. 1 tablespoon. Whoop, whoop. There you go. Oh, salt. We gotta use the salt. I mean, this thing is not gonna taste any good without the salt. A lot of people are afraid of salt, and they should be if you're using Morton salt. But we use good salt. Now, this salt right here is Himalayan salt because that's what they use. This is a good salt to use every once in a while. As a daily salt, I do not recommend Himalayan salt because it's a rock salt. Your kidneys cannot handle that as a daily salt. So I usually use Celtic sun-dried sea salt. Now, that right there is the best. But anyway, I'm using this, and this will do the job, and this every once in a while. I'm gonna put, I think it's a tablespoon for that big recipe. I just put a teaspoon, this is pesto. What am I doing? Tablespoon. I think it might be 2. I gotta check my recipe. I forgot. I've done this in a while. No, I'm kidding. So that's it. That's your pesto right there. Real quick, I gotta taste this because I'm not gonna give it to you guys if I don't like it. I like it. All right, guys. Thank you so much.